Hello, we are now starting our recording for this session. We are here in session 3 of our immune supporting event. And tonight we have some incredible speakers. I'm actually going to turn it over to my mom, and she's going to do a brief introduction. You guys met my mom last night, Cindy Skilling. You guys already know how awesome she is, but she's an RN, certified diabetes educator, and she's going to be introducing our speaker, who's Bridget Wood. Yay!
Yay! So I'm so excited about tonight's topic, and I know that a lot of people are really interested in learning really what the ins and outs are of the immune benefit that you get when you have good gut health. And a lot of people talk about gut health, but not everybody really understands what that means or how do we achieve it, And so I have the privilege of working day in and day out with Bridget, and she's a fabulous dietitian. She has a beautiful heart. She loves people. She loves health, and she loves sharing so many wonderful bits of wisdom about how food can benefit you. And I just can't wait for Bridget to share with us tonight. So Bridget is a registered dietitian. She works with me helping people learn about diabetes, and I will let her kind of do a little intro for herself. But Bridget, just kind of give a quick little hello, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for that awesome introduction. I'm super happy to be here. It's a privilege. The privilege is honestly mine to be able to come and speak to you guys about nutrition. Honestly, I love to just blabber about food all day, and Cindy knows this. And even just the healing properties that, they have, like just being a dietitian and seeing the impacts when people actually find their right fit is just amazing. And it's so rewarding to see that relationship with food kind of heal. So.
That's great. So today, this talk, we're really talking about gut health and immune support. So what is it about gut health that we should be concerned about? Why does gut health matter to our immune system?
Yeah. And so basically when you think about it, so anytime that we drink something, eat something, we have to digest it, which is simple enough. But not only that, the things that we eat are going to impact our gut microbiota in the sense where, the common term that we kind of hear about as dietitians is dysbiosis, meaning that there's a skewing towards the bad gut bacteria versus good gut bacteria. Okay. And when we are skewed more towards that end of the spectrum, we're at an increased chance of having things like certain cancers, things like other chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, IBS, IBD, liver disease, heart disease, basically everything you can think about. So that's why it's super important that our gut health kind of be on point, because it gives us a fighting chance to even, have a good immune system or fight off infections or even prevent those diseases.
Wow. That's incredible. It's amazing. The part of our body that we don't actually see or look at is really supporting and preventing so many things. That's crazy. So when we talk about immune system support, how much immune system support do we get from our gut health?
So you won't even guess this. It's honestly a huge amount. So about 80% of our gut is responsible for our immune system, or it's responsible for about 80% of our immune system.
That's incredible. Wow. So it's a very valuable part of this whole process. So that's why we're just so thrilled that you're here to share this with us. So when we talk about gut health and immune system, what are, we've heard these terms before, things like probiotics and prebiotics, and everybody, throws those words around. But what do those mean? What are they?
Yeah. So prebiotics actually serve as the food or the fuel for the good gut bacteria to help kind of, skew us towards that right direction. And mainly prebiotics, just in simple terms, are just fiber. Okay. Things like fruits and vegetables, whole grains, those are really your main bulk of where you're going to get those prebiotics from. And then things like probiotics are going to be sources of good gut bacteria that you can get orally, because we do have some living in our gut naturally, but in order to kind of bulk that up, you can eat some certain things like fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, miso, tempeh, kombucha, sauerkraut. Things that are going to be fermented are going to be sources of probiotics.
Okay, awesome. And then what about like probiotic supplementation? Is that something that we should be thinking about?
For the most part, for myself personally, I believe that if you can get it through the whole natural food, it's going to be best. The issue is if you buy a supplement that is a probiotic, you do want to try to have one that is combined with a prebiotic, because it's sitting on the shelf. So the longer it sits on the shelf without that fuel source, the less potent it's going to be. So that's the only problem when we do have those supplements.
Okay. That's cool to know, because I do know, we've mentioned some of the Young Living products, and the probiotics that we do have that pre and probiotic combination. So that's really good to know. And they have, billions of live cultures and that kind of thing. So that's kind of what we were hoping would be something that would be beneficial as well. So cool. That's awesome. So what about vitamins? So we talked a little bit about probiotics. Are there any vitamins or supplements that we should be focusing on right now while we're trying to promote good gut health?
Absolutely. So things in general, just like vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, things that are going to be found in a lot of those Young Living vitamins are going to be key, along with supplementing that with those whole foods, those whole unprocessed foods like fruits and vegetables, beans, legumes. All those things are going to have those natural sources to even boost the things that you're complementing with the Young Living vitamins.
Awesome. Very cool. That's awesome. So sometimes when we eat things that might not be what we might consider more healthy food, maybe it's something that's more processed or something that we might consider as junk food, we might feel really good while we're eating it. And then, maybe an hour or so down the road, we might feel a little less, a little more lethargic, or have less energy. What's going on there?
So there's a couple of things, kind of a multitude of things going on. So if you think about it, if it's like those, the junk foods or even like comfort foods, sometimes there's an emotional aspect tied to it, which can, signal to the brain the pleasure receptor that you're, happy while eating it.
Yeah.
However, typically those items are going to be, the things that are higher in sugar or higher in salt. And when you eat them, of course, your taste buds are going to send a signal to your brain to light up and be like, oh, I'm happy initially.
Right. Yeah.
But they lack the items like the fiber or nutrients or vitamins that's really going to help support the gut, help support your body, make you feel good long term.
Okay.
So once that initial rush kind of wears off, then you're really left with like nothing. So that's why you don't feel as good. Or even alternatively, so if you're eating something that's high in sugar, you're going to get that initial rush with sugar, but it can lead to a response, especially even in people without diabetes. You still can have a high sugar response and feel, lethargic or feel tired or just not yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's such a good explanation and such a good reality check for how we feel, when we are craving something that is that comfort food, and we go for that, and then we may regret it, later. So yeah, that's such good insight. So, anything that you think that we should do to counteract those types of cravings or feelings of, urges for that comfort food?
Absolutely. So really trying to, and I know this is easier said than done, but trying to be mindful of those emotions and the reason behind why we're choosing those foods. I mean, it's of course, ever so often having those items in a little bit of amount is not going to be the end of the world, but you really want to put an emphasis on those whole unprocessed foods, because that's what's going to help not only your body, but also your gut, because 80%, hello. So you want to make sure that you're eating those foods just sparingly.
Okay.
But really just being aware of your emotions, identifying those patterns, or, trying to identify, am I just bored, or am I just, depressed, sad? What is actually going on causing me to have that item can really help to heal that relationship and kind of change the way that you think of that comfort food or item.
Okay, that's great. Good. So, as far as our gut health, are there other things that our gut health improves besides just our immune system?
Mhm, mhm. So there's actually a lot of studies being done, and even well, hopefully they're continuing to do studies. But before all this was going on, they were doing a lot of studies, and things like anxiety, it's been linked to depression, things like dementia, brain fog, bad breath, like
Okay. Yeah.
basically everything you can think of has a tie to the gut microbiota or microbiome.
Wow. Wow. Everything. That's amazing.
Insomnia, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we can go back to our food and look at, what we're eating and what we're putting in and possibly change a lot of health outcomes.
Absolutely. And it's important. Sometimes people think that it's a quick fix. It does take time to your body for your body to readjust not only your taste buds, but also your gut to kind of change the way that it's, already formulated. So for some people it can take a couple of weeks, for some people it can take 12. It kind of just depends on the person, but it's important not to give up, because even though you might not feel those changes initially, those changes are happening that we can't see.
Okay, that's awesome. So are there anything that we should be looking for, symptoms that might lead us to know that our gut is off balance? So what would we see in our body that would give us a clue that maybe our gut health needs some improvement?
Yeah, so things like frequent infections, if you're sick a lot, or things like that. Things like skin issues like eczema, acne sometimes can cause, can be a good way to really know what's going on with that. Just digestive issues in general. If you're always having digestive issues, probably there's something going on there. But really, if unfortunately, there's so many things that the gut can really contribute to. So honestly, for me, I like to tell people, just try this way of eating, try eating those veggies, really a plant-based way of eating, not necessarily meaning that you have to cut out meat completely, but really putting an emphasis on fruits and vegetables and those whole grains really can be such a benefit to a lot of people, and can really help, not necessarily solve, but can really help to alleviate a lot of the issues that a lot of people are struggling with today.
Mm-hmm. That's such good advice. Just start moving the needle towards more plants, and then start feeling the difference. That's amazing. And I know that there are people who really do notice, tangible differences when they start adding more plants to their diet. So that's so encouraging and so helpful. So, anything else that you want to add? Any other bits of wisdom or nuggets or things?
No, yeah. So definitely. So if you really think about it, it kind of all boils down, again, what we're putting into our body is super important. But if you think about it too, if we're eating more, and I keep talking about food, but hey, but if we're eating more inflammatory foods, your body's going to be more inflamed. You're going to have a lot more inflammation, which is also linked to a lot of diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So not only just on the gut microbiome aspect, but just on, the whole thing of inflammatory issues that could, be a whole thing, just thinking about it that way.
Okay.
So really focusing on those unprocessed foods, getting those probiotics, if you need a little bit help, of course, getting that probiotic blend that you guys offer,
Right.
those multivitamins that you guys offer can really be beneficial to give you that whole rounded program and help everything kind of come together a little bit easier.
Awesome. That's great. Are there certain foods, since you mentioned the inflammation, are there certain foods that are more inflammatory that might be wise to kind of steer away from or eat them less?
Definitely like the sugary, not necessarily natural sugars as much, but more or less added sugar type things, the junk foods, things that are going to be fried, trying to really stick towards having more seafood, more omega-3s, those anti-inflammatory healthy fats, unsaturated fats like healthy oils, nuts, seafoods, all that good stuff. that is things that you should stick towards and try to stay away from things like beef. Hold on, let me stop because we don't eat enough, but not as much beef. I'm going to put an emphasis on those other items that I mentioned, the fruits and the vegetables, because those are really going to help. But things like packaged foods, processed foods, although it might be difficult currently, especially with our current state, but trying to put an emphasis on those whole natural items are really going to help kind of mend everything.
Awesome. That's great. Have we had any questions from any of the participants, Jamie? Is there anything that anybody wants to ask Bridget? This would be a great time.
We did have a question come in, and one thing was, what would be one first step that you would recommend, like an easy jump in? What do you think would be the best first step for people?
Definitely, I think an easy jump in would be just adding at least 1 or 2 servings of vegetables to each meal. That's just a way of kind of just easing your way into it, because you don't necessarily have to change everything all at once, because if you think about it, for some people those drastic changes can be harder to adjust to and they're not as lasting, and for some people just the gradual changes, and honestly even sometimes that smallest change is enough for you to just feel better. So I would definitely start with the veg. I'm a big proponent of vegetables, so if you're not eating vegetables at all, definitely adding in some form of vegetable will definitely be let's see, what did she say were? Sorry, I just saw that.
More prebiotics. Yeah.
Prebiotics, yeah. So definitely, again, those whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. So beans, lentils, peas, all that good stuff.
And that was answering the chat question. That was, what are good foods? No, it's okay. Just for the recording, they won't see. So what are good foods to eat to get more prebiotics? So that's what Bridget was answering there. Well, that is so awesome. And then also I had another question come in earlier today that was, we've heard a lot about some like gut health cleanses or like extreme diets, just drink juice or something like that. What is your take on those?
Personally, for myself, I don't believe in them. That's just the way that I feel. Just because I don't really like to put restrictions in that way. And then when you're drinking things like juices, you are kind of eliminating things like the fiber that your gut does need to actually, survive and have good balance. So that's the only thing. And then really your body does a good job on its own trying to detox and reset. So as long as you're, eating those whole balanced foods, that's going to be enough to really change the way that skewing towards the bad gut bacteria is. That makes sense. I kind of said that word, but
yeah, that was really helpful. Does anyone here live have any questions? You're all muted. Oh, Heather has one. She said, any thoughts on intermittent fasting with gut health and inflammation?
Yeah. So it just is going to depend on the person. If you are someone who is able to intermittent fast, then if you have success with that, absolutely. I believe it really is just going to come down to the whole picture and you getting in, if you're able to get in the enough amount of vitamins and nutrients within that smaller window, then absolutely go right ahead and not feel hungry throughout that time period. For some people, intermittent fasting can be beneficial.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any questions? You can either chat them or you can unmute yourself and ask them. Let me ask. Hang on. Noni, did you have a question? I just unmuted you.
Oh, good. Thanks. Yeah, I'm just curious. So nice to meet you, Bridget, by the way.
Thank you.
And I'm curious about right now, with the coronavirus and everybody being in. My guess is there's probably a lot of people that join me in the thinking of just eating all day long. Do you have any comments on what you're experiencing and what you're hearing out there?
So in terms of myself or other people, or just in general?
Yeah, just in general. Any tips? Yeah.
Absolutely. So definitely for myself personally, it was harder at first just being home and like snacking more, but really trying to stick toward the routine is going to be key, especially if you're, someone who's used to working and stuff like that. The only thing that's changed is just your setting. So if you think about it, we're in the most controlled setting that we can be. We don't have any external stressors going on around us. So we're able to still exercise. We have the ability to sit in front of the TV or the computer and do a YouTube video and exercise. Or we do have the time, since we're at home, to, if we want to start meal prepping, or if we want to have snacks already set aside that are going to be more nutritious and good for us, already ready to go, so we're not reaching towards those processed snack foods, then we do have the time to do that. But I also like to kind of encourage people to find things that are going to take away from the urge to snack. So different hobbies, whether it be watching something on Netflix and doing something there, or even like knitting or reading, something that's going to take that away from the thought process of thinking that since it's there we have to eat. Because for some people that is something that can be a trigger and is very difficult. But we do have to kind of think of the fact that we are completely in control because we are at our homes and we can really kind of control our whole schedules. If that makes sense.
That's great advice. That's really true. And yeah, I think it is actually one of the things that we can, what's inside our home, we can manage that. That is manageable. We, like you said, we don't have all these outside influences and nobody's inviting us over to their party. So we do what we do.
Unless it's a Zoom party, but yeah. And then, so even like some of my clients will be like, oh, well, I can't get in the gym, so I'm kind of depressed, I can't exercise. But you can really turn anything into a weight, like whether it be like a laundry detergent bottle or like a water bottle or a bar stool. You can be careful, but you could use items that we have to, for right now, take place of those things that might be in the gym or that you might see in those videos that, on YouTube or what have you.
Yes, awesome. Bridget, this has been such a joy. We have loved having you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and just really pouring out this incredible information on us. I know for me and everyone else here, and the people who are going to watch the replay too, this has been so valuable and has really impacted us. So thank
you so much for having me. Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Absolutely.
We loved it, Bridget. That was so informative. So good. Thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And don't forget, y'all, veggies, veggies, veggies. And probiotics for young women.
And just to wrap up, before I end the recording, I did want to mention a few awesome other supplements that kind of go with what Bridget's been talking about. We mentioned them on our earlier call, so if you missed the 12:30 or the 12 o'clock call from this morning, go watch it. The replay is going to be texted out to everyone shortly, and then also the replay is in the Facebook group. So if you haven't watched that, it's really great, so go watch it. And we mentioned some other products in that video that are really helpful during this time. There are some really good essential oils like Digize and Peppermint that I have struggled with IBS, and it's actually allergy-induced IBS. So when I first was figuring out, the doctors actually thought I had a parasite because I was so sick. And so it was really bad. But these supplements, I started obviously changing my diet, thankfully, with some allergy testing, they figured it out. But I also was using Digize and Peppermint on my stomach. I just applied them topically. And these are also vitality oils, which means they're safe and approved for consumption. So I would put just a little tiny bit in my mouth, and they're all natural, ginger and peppermint, and you get all these really, Digize doesn't taste as good as peppermint, just a warning, but they're really good. And then I started adding in the prebiotic and probiotic. We have Life 9, which is the adult version, and then the Mighty Pro, which is the kids, which I talked about earlier. It's a pixie stick. It is so good. Me and my husband actually prefer the kids version because because it tastes like candy and it's healthy. So it's great. And then we also have some greens and all kinds of supplements and our awesome Ningxia Red supplement. The list goes on, but I just wanted to let you guys know that you're not alone in any of this. We are all human. We are all going through similar things, and we want you to feel just unified and encouraged that no matter what, whether your gut is super, super healthy or whether you are like me when I thought I had a parasite, like you can do this and it's worth it. Your body and life are worth it. So thank you guys for joining us here. And I can't wait for our next session, which is going to be tomorrow at noon Eastern time or 9 a.m. Pacific time. We are going to be talking about respiratory care with Joni Goldwasser. And I can already tell you, she sent us some notes today. You guys are not going to want to miss it. My mind was blown just looking at it.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to definitely want to join. So thank you guys so much.